What up, America? What up, world? Welcome to a Better Black America podcast, the number one urban podcast stateside and worldwide. Now, the confirmation hearings for which is billed as the first black woman to ever be nominated to the Supreme Court justice by the name of Ketanji Brown Jackson. Yeah. Ketanji Brown Jackson. Ketanji Brown Jackson. Now that's a sister. You know, you got two black names, three black names. Ketanji, and I might be, I don't know her. I don't know how she pronounces it. But the only times that we can actually say someone's name correctly, for me, I'm speaking for myself, if I like to say their name the way that they say it, but I haven't heard her say her name yet. So I'm just calling Miss Brown Jackson. Now, for the record, she is not the first black woman to be nominated to the Supreme Court. In 2003, President George W. Bush nominated Judge Janice Rodgers Brown to serve on the U.S. D.C. Court of Appeals in D.C., which is considered the country's second most powerful court in the land, and the Supreme Court being number one. The D.C. Circuit has more Supreme Court justices than any other federal circuit court in the country. So that's like a prerequisite. And back then, George W. Bush, being the Republican president, he already had on his cabinet Condoleezza Rice, Secretary of State, Colin Powell, the Secretary of Defense, two blacks, but was no issue. They're qualified. They just do the job. But why is it when the Democrats put people of color on their side or in their cabinet or somehow want them to be a part of their new narrative, why is it that the narrative changes and they make it seem as though this is their responsibility when it was their responsibility to block everything in the past? And I'm saying this because President Joe Biden blocked, and I'm saying this, I'm keeping it 100 with you. President Joe Biden blocked Janice Rodgers Brown from the Supreme Court nomination. And he went on record. He went on Face the Nation and basically broke it down. He said he will filibuster this woman or destroy the filibuster and make sure that this does not happen. But in reaction to that, she was literally filibustered for over 2 years, and it was spearheaded by President Joe Biden. So when President Joe Biden says, I'm going to nominate the first black woman to the Supreme Court, number one, that's a lie. OK, he wants credit for the nomination, just like the credit for our Madam Vice President. And I find the parallels and the connections to Vice President Harris and this potential Supreme Court nominee. And I believe that she will be nominated because she's literally groomed for the position, and Republicans really don't push back and go dirty like Democrats. Now, I sat back and watched Justice Kavanaugh hearing, and it was just a media circus. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, if they were to press, if they were to do things to kind of try to misinterpret this black woman and make her seem or angry or someone that's not suitable for the position, then they will be deemed as racist. So it's a game that's being played, by the powers and principalities, the evildoers in high places. But the parallel when it says follow the science. Now, her name, Ketanji Brown Jackson, she is going through her confirmation hearings right now as we speak. And I watched some of it this morning before I actually started the podcast. And has the skin, no pun intended, the skin to actually get through it with no problem because of her temperament. And I'm looking at her temperament and I'm saying, okay, I see the pearls. Okay. And I see the red. I believe she's a Delta. I could be correct. I could be corrected on that. And I'm saying, okay, she's a part of the Divine Nine and okay, the Greek system. And then I looked at this interesting parallel. And it's a question, but it's not a question. And it's basically just making an assessment, basically following the political science of Willie Lynch, because that's what Willie Lynch science is. When they say follow the science, they say follow the Willie Lynch science. So the reasoning, and I'm going to come back to Ketanji Brown Jackson, because I have to set the tone for what I'm about to say to confirm what I'm saying, so it can be non-debatable, just understanding. Because a better Black America is a better America for all. And it's political. And we look at the politics through the lens of the Black race, from our condition, from the lens of a Black man and our experiences. So we see a sister right now going through confirmation hearings. And we see all of these headlines saying that she was the first. And that's not true, because you need to look up Janice Rodgers Brown. Now, Janice Rodgers Brown was actually filibustered for 2 years because Joe Biden rejected her based on her background and her upbringing. And this is factual. OK, Washington Post news article. I was already in the midst of writing my notes for the podcast, and Lindsey Graham started to speak on these things. Daughter of sharecroppers, single woman, single mother, put herself through college at UCLA. And she was sitting on the California State Supreme Court before George Bush's nomination. And it was blocked by Joe Biden, specifically Joe Biden. And it was based on her background. Daughter of sharecroppers, single mother, put herself through school. Sounds pretty strong. Sounds pretty intimidating, because she probably is fierce, and she has been through the fire, and she will probably do what's right 99.9% of the times. So now look at the parallel. If they can't control you, they don't want you, and they don't like you, and they call it the get along gang, just don't say nothing. Even if you see a cat barking and a dog meowing, don't say nothing. Don't believe your eyes or your ears. Now, this person, Janice Rodgers Brown, after the 2 years of the filibuster, this is the interesting fact. She went back to California and went back on the ballot to become a Supreme Court, or for her reelection, and won 76%. So that shows a lot of her character, shows a lot of the respect that she has in the judicial system on the Supreme Court level, at least on the state level. But she was not fit for the highest court of the land, which is the Supreme Court. But Biden is pulling a page out of Lyndon B. Johnson's handbook. So we'll just basically kill and destroy history. And then when it's the right opportune time, we'll switch the books and make it seem like we're the party of liberation, and we're the party of saving and helping blacks become inclusive and no longer a part of a subsidiary in America, which is political science. You got to know how to pick them, y'all. Now, on the presidential primaries, Kamala Harris made some statements against Joe Biden that had him shook. And it was his record on segregation in the South. It was his record on busing. It was all his whole record was in opposition. And he even voted in opposition for any and every bill that was going to balance the scale socially and economically. And now that he's president, he's doing the Lyndon B. Johnson debate and switch. Now, Lyndon B. Johnson was the vice president for John Kennedy. John Kennedy was the president that was earmarked to liberate, educate, and changed the game socially and economically from a racial perspective here in America. But he was assassinated by Americans, by the CIA and FBI, because he was too willing to basically partner up with the former slaves in a party that they were slaves under. And they did not let that happen. So they killed him. Lyndon B. Johnson became president by default through assassination. Everyone knows if the president is assassinated or dies, the vice president is to become president. So God forbid anything to happen to Joe Biden, because we don't want Kamala Harris to be president. and that's real. But look at the parallel. Joe Biden and Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson is on record because he wanted to be reelected. And he said, go get all the Negro leaders and I'm going to give them everything they want. He brought in Dr. King. And they basically put some bills and laws together to desegregate the South, to start with the, upward mobility of the civil rights movement and to champion the civil rights movement. But it got hijacked like it always does. Because when Dr. King and the black leaders went out of door number one, here comes Margaret Sanger in door number two. And she's the mother of black genocide because she was granted all of the funding for Planned Parenthood. And that's to exterminate black babies. And then in door number three, Lyndon B. Johnson's gay brother, a white man who says he's gay. So now you could be a white person of privilege, and then now you're gay. Now you're part of a minority group. So now we can put you and place you over here with the feminist movement, with the genocidal movement. And now we got to figure out a way to basically declassify the black race and make them in ethnicities so they won't have voice, because we must control them forever or as long as we can. And Willie Lynch says we could do it for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And the sands of the hourglass is running out in plain sight. The sands of the hourglass is running out. Now, while the sands of the hourglass is running out, we got a plan. And we are looking at the countdown of a party because it has shown his hand and it's trying to reproduce something in times where it's literally impossible to do. Literally impossible to do. We have too much information. We have too much knowledge. We have too much connectability to not challenge what we see. When they say this is the first number, it's not. Look up Janice Rodgers Brown. She was filibustered for 2 years and blocked by Joe Biden because of her background as a daughter of a sharecropper, a single mother, a female that put herself through UCLA, and a single female who became a California Supreme Court justice and was nominated by George W. Bush in 2003. And Biden went on a frenzy, went on State of the Nation. He went on Face the Nation. He went on all these shows to basically block it because he didn't want that to happen. So now that he's in power, he's doing the Lyndon B. Johnson. Let's go ahead and switch history, because now if I nominate her, then I will be classified as the president that nominated the first woman to the Supreme Court, or the first black woman to the Supreme Court. But we're supposed to forget about gas prices, inflation, the war, crime, and I can go on and on. So this Supreme Court nomination has zero favorability for Joe Biden himself, because all you could do is bring the horse to the water. She has to pull it off, and she's doing a great job. She has to pull it off. So he can only nominate her. But the Republicans, and I'm not going to even say conservatives, because conservative don't mean Republican, but liberal do mean Democrat. But the Republicans have too much respect